Good Friday afternoon to you, 4 o'clock in time for Sports4CLE. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is off to a great start. Browns working inside today, getting ready for the Colts in Indianapolis Sunday at 1 o'clock. And some good news. Deshaun Watson took all of the first team reps. You see him throwing there, that one to Elijah Moore, and then kind of working on the route with Elijah Moore as well. But he took all of the first team reps with his offensive unit getting ready for the Colts. So again, trending in the right direction, and good to see that after he threw a little bit yesterday that they ramped it back up, this time working with Donovan Peoples-Jones. Again, Browns working inside. They play indoors. That one going to Amari Cooper. Kevin Stefanski talked about Deshaun Watson taking all those reps, and does this mean he's playing against the Colts?
Yeah, I want to see how he responds over the next 48 hours, based on that full workload that he just got. But he looked good today.
So it's trending in that direction, fair to say?
Those are your words.
Would it be similar to what happened before the Baltimore game, where would he have to?
We won't work him out. Just want to see how he responds, how his body responds to, again, a full workload today.
Responded well from yesterday, though, to today?
Yes, yeah, again, making progress every day.
What is he wearing on his shoulder, Kevin? When he looks like some kind of device.
I don't know. That's the truth.
Did he take his normal reps that he would have?
Yes.
How did you think he looked? I mean, the first 2 days you seen him out of the field for practice last week. So how do you see him from a throwing perspective?
Yeah, I thought he looked good.
Do you have more velocity on his ball today?
I think every day when you're working through something, you continue to make progress every single day. Hard to answer that question when I'm staring at that hat. It's hard. I won't look next time.
Verify, he had a full day today. He was not limited.
Correct.
With that, let's welcome in Casey Kinnamon, Dog Pound Daily Network 216. Casey, obviously, Kevin Stefanski just wants a starting quarterback back. He's tired of answering the questions. And you get it. When you're coming back, as somebody who has had, as a pitcher who has had rotator cuff issues, some days they're going to feel, your arm's going to feel alive, and some days it's going to be, man, it's just not, it's not going. So they want to see, does he still have the zip on it that he had today?
Yeah, that's what was promising to me is everyone was kind of jumping the shark yesterday, just because he threw and he's going to play. Pump the brakes. It's all about how his throwing shoulder responds. Well, it responded well enough that he could come out on a back-to-back day and take the full workload. That's very promising. But Stefanski, he's tight-lipped about a lot of things, but he did say one thing: just want to see how it responds. That's the key. How's he feel when he wakes up tomorrow, and more importantly, how's he feel when he wakes up Sunday morning? If there's no setbacks, I fully expect him to go. Yeah,
and again, Deshaun doesn't know if there's going to be any setbacks. Nobody knows. It's gonna depend on how that arm has healed, how that rotator cuff has healed. So this is a little bit concerning. Sione Takitaki injured his hamstring late in practice today. He has been ruled out of the game. Watson, Bryant, Kareem Hunt, Greg Newsome all listed as questionable. It appears that Anthony Walker is out of the concussion protocol as he's practiced the last couple of days. So concerning with Takitaki, especially, he's a pretty good run defender. I like seeing him. I'd feel better if he could be in there against Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. Again, good that Anthony Walker's coming back. Otherwise, we'd really be scratching our heads there.
Yeah, I feel really good that A-Walk's going to be back, especially with him heading back to Indianapolis. I think this is going to be a big moment for him. And shout out, though, Takitaki last week when he had to step in when Walk went out with a concussion, and you didn't see a noticeable drop-off. So it's a big loss. He's massive against the run. His name kind of gets lost in the shuffle with all the names on this defense. But when it comes to going up against the run, Sione Takitaki's at the top of the list. He's super effective, and he'll be missed against the run game this week against Indianapolis for sure.
All of the questionable guys, again, they're hopeful, but you know how that goes. All right, this is kind of interesting. So Adam Shine, CBS Sports Network, talking about the whole Deshaun Watson situation.
I really think the Cleveland Browns have a serious Deshaun Watson problem. Deshaun Watson tapped out of the game against the Ravens a few weeks ago. He was cleared by the team doctors, and everyone expected him to play. He said, you know what? I can't do it. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he's 100% healthy. That would be disingenuous. And, you know, I'm in a studio with a suit on. I mean, I'm not the guy. I'm not on the medical staff. But he's hurting the team. And he was cleared to play, hasn't played. Look at what the offense has done. And by the way, they did beat San Francisco. That was because of the defense. And they're bottom 5 in these categories without Deshaun Watson. So he's killing the football team. He didn't practice yesterday. He did practice, according to Amari Cooper. How's that for breaking news? Today. And Deshaun Watson, this contract, it's atrocious. And if it sounds like I'm not giving Watson the benefit of the doubt on anything because of everything in his past, good. That's part of the point. He hasn't earned it. You can't trust him. I don't think he cares about the Browns. I don't think he cares about football. I don't think he cares about anyone. I think he pocketed the money, and he's just collecting. And it's a shame. This Browns defense is amazing. This team has dealt with adversity. Look at the Nick Chubb season-ending injury. The fans are incredible. Winnable game this week against Indianapolis. Hey, Deshaun Watson, join the damn party.
Okay. You know, who made him the ambassador of all that is right and good? I just, if a guy says he's hurt and it's his throwing shoulder, I tend to err on the side of I'm going to believe him.
Yeah, there was a lot of personal interjection there with his belief system into what Deshaun Watson is doing. And the contract is always funny to me. It just keeps getting thrown up in there. Like, dude, it's like top 10 now. It's not like he's not making any more money than a third of the league anymore, you know, and they're going to keep throwing that in there. Yeah, when your starting quarterback is out, does it hurt your team? Yes. He's your starting quarterback. Is he doing it intentionally? No, he can't go. You don't think he wants to play? You don't think that he came off his best game as a Cleveland Brown and just didn't want to continue that progress? He wanted to just, no, that's good enough. We'll just shut it down. That's just ridiculousness. You know, he wants to be out there with his teammates. He wants to be a part of this. And if he could go, he would have went. So we'll find out on Sunday.
I have had rotator cuff strains. I wish this guy would have a rotator cuff strain. It's hard to throw a baseball with one. And that's what I used to do as a college pitcher. I can't imagine trying to throw something as heavy as a football with a rotator cuff strain. It's heavier, it's bigger. Now, it's different throwing motion. You're not throwing it 100 times, you're throwing it 30. I still imagine it hurts quite a bit, and it's frustrating because it's like, why isn't, you know, my arm's dead. It's not going anywhere. That's what happens with those.
Yeah, and this is the first time he's dealt with this as well. He said that ad nauseum. So he doesn't know what to expect, you know, and just being the frustrations of being a professional athlete when your body betrays you and you're like, why can't I do the thing that I do well? You know, and that's where he's at. So he's working himself back. You're starting to see him throw now. You're going to see people take shots, and I guess like people are going to have their own agendas. You kind of seen it in that piece right there.
Yep.
They're going to look for any reason to slam him, and if they're saying he's, you know, giving up on the team, that's his standpoint, but I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, and we'll find out soon enough. My sense is the locker room will be rallying around him, and we'll see. Again, we'll find out. So Rich Eisen from the Rich Eisen Show with 6 things that he knows for certain based on the 2023 NFL season through 6 weeks, something he's positive of for the rest of the year.
The Cleveland Browns defense is fixed. Ooh. That is fixed. So and all the Browns fans that were saying this, that, and the other thing about how their defense stinks and they hate their defensive coordinator, Joe Woods, back in the day, they are using the Schwartz, to use the Spaceballs phrase.
Oh, we got to get that as a drop.
Use the Schwartz.
I see your Schwartz is as big as mine.
What Jim Schwartz is doing with the guy on the left, radio audience, it's Myles Garrett.
Yeah, he's a bad man.
That is a Hall of Famer who is smiling because he knows he's got the right mix and the right DC, but without Nick Chubb, boy, do they need to lean on this side of the football, and that side of the football is leaning on people. Mm-hmm. And that defense is fixed.
Yeah, Casey, I can't, I mean, if you want me to nitpick, the only thing and I think, you and I have talked about this, those turnovers are coming. you don't play as tight as they are, get the pressure on quarterbacks that they are, and have people all over the field like their linebackers are, eventually turnovers come because of those elements that they're doing defensively.
Yeah, they've been so close so many times. And once they come, they're going to start coming in bunches. Rich, that makes a lot of good points there, though. You know, it's utilization of personnel under Schwartz. He plays to his players' strengths. You know, they're not fighting against each other. They're all in, you know, and the excitement they play with, the intensity they play with, you know, it's just infectious. And it's easy to see. You know, this is coming into the season, and we felt this way before, where we'd be high on what was on paper, and then you get into the season and you realize, oh, there's some glaring holes, and for whatever reasons they wouldn't be addressed, and they would just be your weaknesses throughout the season. Well, they did it again this year, so we're all, you know, we're optimistic. We go into the year and it's better than expected. I mean, it's just at every area, every position room you can go, and you can single people out who are just balling out right now, and it's something we've been waiting our whole lives to see, a defense like this on the field in Cleveland, and it's something to behold.
So ESPN's Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback, let's take a look at his analysis and breakdown with video on how the secondary of the Browns is working together.
Now, this is down in the red zone, and they're going to try to get the ball to Christian McCaffrey. This is where the leverage shows up the most. Okay, the leverage is right here. These defenders are playing outside leverage on all three of those pass catchers. They're trying to restrict those guys from going outside and actually allow them to catch the ball on any type of in-breaking route. RC, talk to me about these two guys.
That they're doing? What I love that they're doing, if you look at the outside corners, now it's Greg Newsome who started in the slot and Mark Emerson Jr. to the top. They understand that deep in the red zone, the out-breaking cuts are going to be the most difficult for Brock Purdy to hit. So they understand with inside leverage, they can now do what's called a slip technique, which is slide under the outside wide receivers and undercut them, making Brock Purdy have to put a little air on those out-breaking routes.
I love that. And this, if we just took this one-on-one matchup for itself, McCaffrey's running what we call a Texas or an angle route, and he's open. You would say he beats the linebacker, but that's not the case. Now, why are those guys playing outside leverage? Because they have a safety who's going to drop down and be a help defender. His job, just have vision on the quarterback or any in-breaking route, and you can drive on that. Because the reality is this is a completion for the 49ers offense, but it's not a first down because everyone played to that proper leverage. They funneled the ball to the inside to that extra help defender.
In case that is a really good explanation that's easy to understand of how this secondary is playing and the communication that's going on between the members of that secondary.
Yeah, you just see a well-coached unit. You're seeing everyone. That's an obvious coaching point. Is when you notice their leverage too, and it's in uniformity. They're across the board. They're either outside or inside. And you see that switch depending on the situation. And as they got closer to the end zone, you've seen the leverage there. And it also speaks to having a true free safety who can monitor the middle of the field and make up for those deficiencies. And that's what allows them to play such heavy man, is they have someone like Juan Thornhill who can really patrol the middle of the field and make up for those differences.
Yeah, and McLeod can do it if he's not in there as well. That's another skill set. All right, so in conjunction with that, Dan Orlovsky then explains why that man-to-man coverage helps out the defensive line and how the line helps out the man-to-man coverage.
Okay, Myles Garrett is here. We have a defensive tackle here. We always want to slide to Myles Garrett. We're going to take the center and left guard and slide to that guy. Left tackle, one-on-one with Myles Garrett, okay? Now, here's the challenge. We actually want to go 3-on-2. We want to go help with Myles Garrett. But that defensive tackle starts here and goes inside. What it does, he occupies both those guys. Now, Myles Garrett is one-on-one. Look, the guard, he's actually getting his eyes there, but he's too late. That forces the ball clockwise to get out of Brock Purdy's hands. So that leverage attached to Myles Garrett is paramount.
And again, that's a really good illustration of it. That's Trent Williams that couldn't, who's a really good left tackle who couldn't hold up against Myles Garrett.
Yeah, future Hall of Famer in Trent Williams. And I know Myles didn't get home for any sacks, but he affected the game from the beginning to the end of that game, just winning rep after rep. But this is something that doesn't get talked about enough, is what happened over the last couple of seasons. It always felt disjointed, the pass rush and the coverage. Now you're seeing a marriage of the two, and that's got Jim Schwartz's fingerprints all over it. And personnel. You get a player like Dalvin Tomlinson, who can force double teams, who can occupy two blockers and allow Miles to be singled up. In the past, that would have been just a standard double. You'd have seen the guard slide out and attempt to get a piece of Myles Garrett. Doesn't even have that option now because of someone like Dalvin Tomlinson.
All right, before we go to break, some news of some guys the Browns are working out. Wide receiver was with the Bears, Daz Newsome, per league source. He also worked out for the Steelers. So it's kind of interesting. Again, just looking, a younger guy, not a high-profile guy, does have some NFL experience, does Daz Newsome. Again, nothing huge, but it's somebody that's on the Browns' radar.
Yeah, and when Newsome came out in 21, I thought he was going to get drafted higher than he did. If he didn't test really well, but if you look at him with the ball in his hands, he's got some skills. He has some running back type skills, really. But he's a slot guy, 5'10", 190. He played 3 games for Chicago, and he bounced around, spent the summer in San Francisco. If you look at someone like that, I think that's a practice squad candidate, But is that indicative of another move that might be happening is what I start to think about. If there's maybe a pending trade with one of the Browns guys on their roster, so sort of like a Donovan Peoples-Jones, would that elevate Watkins off the practice squad and you need room for a practice squad receiver? That's kind of where my mind goes.
Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216 and I are going to step aside, take a quick time out. We'll head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason, talk more about that Browns defense. Sports4CLE will be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily, Network 216. Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hey, this is Cassius, the quintessential Cleveland Browns fan, long time. Anyway, I want to make a prediction. I think next season the Cleveland Browns are going to move DeJuan Jones to left tackle and then move Jedrick Wills back to his natural position as right tackle. Tell me what you think about that. Anyway, Cleveland Browns over the Indianapolis Colts this weekend, 27-13. Go Browns.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Yeah, Casey, I think they clearly see something with Jedrick Wills. He did play right tackle in college and was pretty good enough to be the 10th pick in the draft. I thought he played pretty well. I won't say. I thought he played better than he has in the past few games against 49ers. Saw some passion that I like to see with him.
Yeah, his best game of the season, and the effort was there. Getting to the second level and looking for work, that's what you want to see out of Big Jed. I would defer, obviously, to the expertise of someone like Bill Callahan if he thinks DeJuan Jones even has the biomechanics to transition to being a left tackle. Because he started off college as a left tackle, and then they transitioned him to right, and he looks really comfortable there. And it looks like he could be really dominant there. So I don't know if they want to really mess with that. But then again, this is also the same regime that drafted a right tackle and transitioned him to a left tackle. So I can't say anything that's off the table, but they are connected through contracts to Jack Conklin for another 2 years. They're connected to Jed through next year with the 5th-year option. So they got to figure out a way to get out of one of those contracts one way or the other. But I personally would leave DeJuan Jones where he's at unless Bill Callahan thinks that he'd make an easy transition over to the left side.
You know what? If you have guys that can play tackle in the NFL, those are good problems to have. And it looks like they found one in the 4th round. We'll take that problem. We'll figure out if it's left or right. But he looks like he can play. Jim Schwartz yesterday talked about the early season success that the Browns defense has had and what it means.
They don't give out any trophies for 5 weeks. I think we all know that. It's a long season, and we're going to have to survive a lot of highs and lows throughout the season. We have some experienced players. We have some experienced coaches that have been there, that know that, and I think that's one of the things that, that keeps us grounded. So, let me know when the 5-week stats are part of the tiebreaker. When they are, we'll really concentrate on that. You know, we're trying to be good each and every game, find a way to give ourselves a chance to win every Sunday and try to be consistent. Is the NFL, you're not always going to have a great performance every week, but we need to find a way to minimize our poor performances, minimize our poor plays, and accentuate our positives and keep our eyes on that, you know, that destination.
And Casey, you can be sure that's what he's telling his defensive unit as well. If that's what he's saying in the media, that's the message that he wants.
Dave, I could listen to him talk all day. I love Jim Schwartz's press conferences. They don't give out trophies for the first 5 games. He's 100% right. But you're looking at a guy who, when your team's having success and you still have to coach up every week, you still have to keep coaching. He's a coach's coach. He's a coach who didn't even want to handpick his assistants so he could coach them up. You know what I mean? He's a teacher at heart, and he's going to keep striving for perfection. And like he said, you got to minimize the bad and accentuate the good. When there's a ton of good. You know, and you got to keep, so for him, it's about finding those little things you can improve upon. And that's scary when you look at this defense and the personnel they have and the way they're being driven from the top on down with Jim Schwartz.
And they appear to really enjoy being driven like that as well. Greg Newsome was on the Richard Sherman podcast, talked about the chemistry that this secondary has.
We do dinners all the time. We're always hanging out with each other. We watch film. After everyone leaves the building, we got a back 7 film meeting that we always do every single day. So we're just super tight, man. Shout out Juan, you know, a guy who's won a Super Bowl, won 2 Super Bowls. He knows what the formula is. So he's helped us get there too. And then a guy like Rodney McLeod, who's year 12, man, he's seen a lot of football. So he helps out with a lot. But the additions that we've gotten this offseason has helped us tremendously.
And Casey, the other thing is they're guys that have come from winning cultures, and it's starting to get a hold in there, which is a really good thing.
Yeah, you got a real young core, and they've been playing together for a while. Then you make really good additions. You get someone like Juan Thornhill, and we've been looking for a defensive leader, for a vocal leader. He's that guy. That's who he is stepping in. And then you have like an extra coach on the field with McLeod, who has actually worked under Schwartz before to come in with his system. And it's a beautiful marriage. You can see they love to play for each other, how excited they are. And, you know, in the past, you might see a player make a play, and I wouldn't go so far as to call it jealousy, but you could almost see regret from the other players that they didn't make the play. Not anymore, man. They celebrate each other's successes. They're all in, and it's a brotherhood out there, and they are flying around. And I personally think that they're the best secondary in the NFL right now.
Yeah, it's hard to argue. And you know, we say McLeod is a coach on the field, and that's fair. He can still play. When we're saying that, just beware, he can still play at a high level. So this is from Nick Wagner, who is a beat reporter for the 49ers. Cleveland is in man coverage, 71% of the dropbacks versus the 49ers. Season high, Purdy 7 of 17, 96 yards, TD, an interception, 2 sacks, a 12.0 QBR. The Browns are allowing for the season a 7.5 QBR in man coverage. Absurd is what he says. Again, we keep throwing out the superlatives. That is ridiculous.
Yeah, numbers don't lie. That is ridiculous. And once again, it's playing to the skill set of your players, to their strengths, accentuating those. And this is a corner room in particular that is born to play man coverage. Now, you can't do that 100% of the time, but you see that 71%, and that's an uptick. And I think that's because they were playing such a motion-heavy offense in the 49ers. And if you take a motion-heavy offense where they change the alignment last second, well, that can change your assignment when the alignment changes, and you might pass a guy off to the wrong guy or pass one off when you're not even supposed to. You take all that out when you're playing man. And it made it simple, and they got to play to their strengths, and you could see it was frustrating for the San Francisco wide receivers from jump, just the way that, Newsome and Ward, how sticky they are, how physical Emerson is in man coverage. So it's just playing to their players' strengths, and it's awesome to see.
Myles Garrett talked about the approach he and the defense have after getting a big win against 49ers at home, going out on the road.
Got to go on the road, got to win. That's what good teams do. And, got to stack them. Come off a big win like that, defense does well. Got to put that behind you and continue to move. continue to do what got you there throughout the week, and then finish strong on Sunday.
And again, you continue to hear a little bit of that messaging that, okay, move on, let's build them.
Yeah, you're hearing the word stack. You're hearing that's the message behind the scenes. Now it's time to stack them. And he's 100% right, man. This is a game you're supposed to win. You got to go take care of business. This is no room for complacency. Now, it'd be easy to get caught off guard coming off a highly emotional game like what you had with the 49ers for there to be somewhat of a letdown. But you can guarantee that this is being preached behind the scenes, that they have to go into Indianapolis and immediately remind them, you should not be on the field with us. And that's the messaging that has to happen, because if not, you see letdowns. I mean, I know you're a favorite to beat the Colts, but this is the same exact Colts team that beat Baltimore the week before Baltimore came to Cleveland and took it to them, So you can't take your foot off the gas. This is an NFL team, and you got to go out there and remind them why you're the better team.
Yep, and it starts with the defense. This team starts with the defense. Don't make any mistake about it. This is from ESPN, storylines to watch for the Browns-Colts. It's a preview. So both of Cleveland's possible starting quarterbacks very familiar. Deshaun Watson played 6 games in Indy while in Houston, throwing 8 touchdown passes, running for 2 more, completing 70% of his passing attempts. P.J. Walker entered the league with the Colts 2017, spent parts of 3 seasons there. We're going to move on to bold predictions for this game. The Browns defense will outscore the Colts offense in another dominant defensive performance. Cleveland is top 5 defensively in almost every category but turnovers. That changes in Indy, they say. Browns will force Colts into multiple miscues. Stat to know, Browns have allowed 1,002 yards this season, 3rd fewest a team has allowed in their first 5 games since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger. And the last thing on this one, matchup X factor, Colts running backs, Jonathan Taylor and Zach Moss. Gardner Minshew not going to be able to pass the ball on the Browns, plain and simple. Game will come down to the Colts defense. If the Colts run game can generate enough points on the ground, they have a chance. Again, the interesting thing is if all goes well, it will be Deshaun Watson, and I don't think it's fair to expect him to come out and throw the ball 30 times for 300 yards, but you never know.
Yeah, that is quite a bold prediction. I want to go to that real quick before I forget. Is the Browns defense will outscore the Colts offense? And if those turnovers that we're calling for happen, that's on the table. I do think the Colts are going to struggle to score touchdowns. I think it's going to be mostly a field goal battle as far as the Colts are concerned. But Watson, he's had 6 games with Indianapolis. It's hard for me to infer anything that he's had in the past because there's so much turnover since the last time he played against Indy. They have a couple players like DeForest Buckner and Shaquille Leonard, but for the most part, those guys aren't there anymore. He'll know where the locker room's at. I think that's helpful, as far as playing in that building before. But there's too much turnover. He has to expect something for himself. If you say you're good enough to go, that means you got to be good enough to play and good enough to excel. And and from his explanation, that's why he didn't go against Baltimore. He would be hurting the team. Well, if you're willing to go, you can't hurt the team. So, I don't expect, like you said, 300 yards, but I expect him to build upon that Tennessee game. For me, that's going to be the bar going forward.
So the other thing is the run game has to be a concern. Jonathan Taylor is kind of, I don't want to say he's Nick Chubb, but he's as close to a Nick Chubb type running back as there is and Zach Moss has been great.
Yeah, Zach Moss is second in the league in rushing. That's not by accident. He's someone they're going to plan to use. And obviously, as Taylor gets his legs back, he's going to eat into those carries. But that is a 2-headed monster. That is something you have to be prepared for. And for the Browns, you got to take them out of that running script. Because as long as they can just consistently attempt to run the football and they're within striking zone of running the football within 10 points, then you have to deal with that. What you got to do is you got to put your foot on the gas and get them out of that and put them in passing situations so you can allow your pass rushers to hunt, so you can allow your DBs to affect the game. So you got to take Indianapolis right out of that.
Casey Kinnamon and I are going to step aside, take one more time out. Other side of the break, back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason. We'll hear more from Myles Garrett as well. Sports for CLE. I'll be right back. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns with Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily and Network 216. Let's head back to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
Hi, this is Rico. I was trying to compare the Ravens game and the 49ers game just to see how the Browns defense adjusted to all the motions and screens. I'm not a guru, so excuse my lack of knowledge. But what I saw was the Browns defense basically winning their assignments. They consistently beat their blocks and were able to get to the ball carrier. Obviously, there is so much more that goes into it, but my simplistic view of it was that our defense was just too fast setting the edge and also creating a new line of scrimmage. And the safety, specifically Delpit, filled in certain gaps. I mean, am I correct in my assessment? And what can other teams try and exploit on our defense? Thanks.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Casey, they adjusted really well, and they just basically said, we're staying in man coverage.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is to be able to work against all the motion is you stay in man coverage. It keeps it simple. But I think they learned a lot from themselves from the Raven game. I think that was a good prep going into this. Is Ravens run a lot of window dressing as well. They seen where they got caught up and they were able to adjust to it. But the caller's right. It starts at the line of scrimmage. Them being able to erase that line of scrimmage and redraw it in San Francisco's backfield changed everything. So it's and being able to, for recognition, to be able to understand what your assignment is and then see your keys and just go. So you're not thinking. And you're seeing the linebackers fly around, and they were able to avoid those blocks. That's why you see JOK blow up so many plays in the backfield, is because of his recognition and his ability to go from diagnose to attack. So you're starting to see it all come together. But yeah, it was like I said, I think the Ravens game was a real good like an entrance exam into how to handle a team like that. And I feel confident going forward when they face the Ravens again, they'll have a different plan of attack.
So Myles Garrett, without question, is off to a great start. He talked about the effect that Dalvin Tomlinson has had on his game.
It makes it a little bit easier when I don't have to face the guard when I'm making an inside move or, I counter back. They're focused on him because he's a load to handle. My man is strong as they come, and he'll walk right through one guy. So they got to make sure they have two on him, and hopefully they'll have two on me and Z. He can get freed up and make some plays of his own.
The fact that the Colts with Gardner Minshew beat the Ravens, does that show you, what these guys are all about and they're capable of?
Nah, that means nothing to us. We're not worried about who they beat. We're just worried about the film and what they do. Not about their record or any of that. We just focus on how do we beat them, not what they beat. That's all in the past.
And again, you get a little bit of that mindset. How do we beat them?
Yeah, keep it about you. What can we do to this team, not what that team can do. Man, Dalvin Thompson's been a breath of fresh air. We've been waiting on someone that can occupy two blockers and just crush that line of scrimmage and collapse the pocket so the quarterbacks don't have anywhere to run from Myles. And you're seeing it on the other side too. Like so often this summer we were looking for people to replace Jordan Elliott, and man, he had a phenomenal game on Sunday against the 49ers, just redirecting ball carriers, and he should get some props where it's deserved. This defensive tackle room has really solidified this defensive line and provided more problems for opposing offensive coordinators than just where's 95. Now you have all these other things plus, where's 95? But you have to deal with a lot of other things in the defensive line before you even get to Myles.
Tomlinson has been every bit as good as we thought. We like the signing when he's doing exactly, maybe even a little bit more than we thought he might. Greg Newsome talked about the defense's approach to the Colts, led by a backup quarterback, Gardner Minshew. This again from the Richard Sherman podcast.
You can't sleep on Gardner Minshew. I know he's a backup quarterback, but he done did a lot of stuff in this league where he'll go out there and throw for 400 yards. So, you know, we're not going to sleep on him for sure. But it all comes back to what we say every week, and that's just playing our brand of football. We obviously scheme up guys, and Coach Schwartz says that, but he puts on the screen every single week, they have to stop us. Like, that's his mantra every single week. So we're going to do what we do. We always going to respect every opponent, and you know how it is. A team who just got destroyed the week before is going to come in even more hungry. So we definitely going to be in another fight this week.
And again, I love that. You know, they have to stop us.
Yeah. Keep your guard. Gardner Minshew's sneaky. He's one of those. He almost has like a Ryan Fitzpatrick quality to him that if you let him get ahead of steam, he can get some momentum. He can throw on you. You know, he's a decent athlete, not great. He's not going to provide too much damage with his legs. It's all about cutting him off from the back of the pocket and giving him difficult windows and speeding up his processing. But it's about this Browns defense. It can't be about the Colts offense. If they got there and played at the top of their game, I don't really know that the Colts have answers for them.
Yeah. So I know you wrote an article for Dog Pound Daily, 3 massive keys to a Browns victory in Week 7. Number 3, win the field position battle. Number 2, find easy answers for the quarterback. Number 1, stop the run. Let's start with the field position battle. Again, a lot of times it seems like you're almost afraid to play you should never be afraid to play a field position game with the type of defense you have.
Yeah, I think we need to start looking at Corey Bojorquez as a weapon because of this defense. You know, if you find yourselves in 4th and 4 just outside of field goal range, unless the game script calls for it or it's the end of a half or something, do not be afraid to punt it. This defense is extremely stingy with giving up yards. They're guarding every blade of grass. If you can force the Colts to have to go 90 yards, I like the Browns' chances. So I think that's the key, is keep flipping the field, keep them having to drive from long distances, and eventually they're going to give you things because they're going to get desperate. So start looking at Bojorquez as a weapon. The Browns need to keep pinning teams back.
Finding easy answers for the quarterback.
Yeah, and this doesn't matter who the quarterback is at this point. Watson's been gone long enough that don't make him have to diagnose. I would change up how you get those quick and easy answers. In Week 3, it was Elijah Moore. I want to see him utilized more down the field. I would focus on David Njoku, getting the ball to him in easy opportunities where he can start to turn up field, because that seems to be the missing element in my mind of this offense. You see in the tight end screen game that they've been running, which has been successful from his end, they just keep having penalties. They keep getting it called back, but it's ready to go. Like he's ready to burst open and really affect the game. And I think that if you can get the ball to him in easy situations, kind of get Deshaun or PJ Walker in rhythm and let their game expand from there.
And number 1, we talked about it a little bit earlier, stop the run. I don't want to say that. It would be a surprise if the Colts can beat the Browns throwing the ball consistently.
Yeah, it's exactly where my mind goes. This is the one thing they can do if you let them. They can run the football. But if you just keep playing, you don't have to do anything different. We need the same defense that took the field against San Francisco to take the field against Indianapolis. They don't have to change their scheme. They just have to keep that same approach, keep destroying the line of scrimmage, keep taking away running lanes, and you can cut the head off this 2-headed monster. But you have to do it, because if you let them run, they will run all over you.
All right, before we go, take a look at this, just in terms of how important this game against the Colts is. With a win, the Browns' chances of making the playoffs 68%, with a loss 39%. That's from Pro Football Focus. So, again, you get to 4-2, and then you start looking at, can we get to 5-2? Can we get to as opposed to going back to 500.
This might sound extreme coming from me, but I view this as a must-win game. In my mind, you gave away a game early in the season to the Steelers that you made up for with San Francisco. But from here on out, every game that you're supposed to win, you have to go handle business. And this is one you have to knock off. This is a fellow AFC competitor. You got to take a win from them, put one on your ledger, and keep moving forward. You cannot afford to give any of these games up, because I think by the end of the year, these kind of matchups are what's going to cost you. You could look back and be like, oh, we gave up that one to the Colts. That might be what keeps you out of it. You can't have that happen. Take all the ifs out of the equation. You are the better team. Go in there and handle business, and then I do expect them to make the playoffs.
Casey Kinnamon from Dog Pound Daily Network 216, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Casey.
Anytime. You guys have a great weekend.
You too. Casey Kinnamon, make sure you check him out, Dog Pound Daily and Network 216. We're going to step aside, take a quick time out. Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer, cleveland.com, video analysis, a scouting report of the Colts. Straight ahead, Sports for CLE. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Come back to go forward. Back to learning new things. Back to pursuing your dreams. Tri-C has flexible learning options to fit your life. And every year, more than 1,000 local companies provide Tri-C students with real-world learning. The right education can boost your lifetime earning power by hundreds of thousands of dollars. Start now with a college education you can afford. Tri-C, where futures begin.
We continue talking Browns here on Sports for CLE. Browns getting ready for a road game in Indianapolis against the Colts. Time to take a look at what the Colts do. Video analysis, film breakdown. Whenever we do that, we welcome in Lance Reisland from the Plain Dealer as well as cleveland.com. Lance, backup quarterback for the Colts. Anthony Richardson done for the year, so it's Gardner Minshew's show. Let's start there. When you say backup quarterback, the Browns have won with one, but this is a game really the Browns should win.
Well, before we get into film breakdown, as a coach, I think the big thing they got to do is they got to come back down to earth, right? So they've had a big win, and everything that they were saying last week going into the 49ers, the Colts are saying this week. No one expects us to win. We got a backup quarterback. Gardner Minshew protects the football, which when you see him on film, he struggles protecting the football, but he's a gunslinger. And they have Pittman, they got the Pierce kid, they got the Josh Downs, who I loved out of North Carolina. So they got some talented guys who can go get the football. They got a really good backfield. I think Zach Moss is outstanding. He's had a couple good games. Jonathan Taylor's back. So they got some guys who can play. But you're right. This is a game the Browns are better. The Browns should win, but the best team doesn't always win. They got to come ready to play, and now they got to show some maturity and come back after a big win and handle a team they should beat.
Yeah, and do it on the road especially. Let's take a look at it. You mentioned Gardner Minshew. Take us through this first clip. What do we see?
Well, you're going to see with Gardner Minshew, when you watch him on film, he is, he's a great leader. He's fearless. He'll take a chance. And what you see here is that, first and foremost, the Colts are going to have to help their left tackle. He's going to struggle in back pass protection against the Browns. This is Josh Allen, and Myles Garrett's the bigger version of Josh Allen. He's faster, he's bigger, so they're going to have to help him. But what you see here is that he's a little bit late going through his progression. He's a little bit late in terms of what he's looking at, but he's going to take some chances. And the first thing that the Browns got to do is they got to attack, and they got to attack and get some turnovers and make this a game. Even though they're 3-2, they've lost the turnover battle each week, so they got to get on track. They got to make it easy for their offense until their offense gets on track. So they got to create short yards, short fields, maybe score a pointer, maybe get a pick six or a fumble recover for a touchdown. But again, he's going to hold the ball. He's going to fumble the ball. He's going to throw some picks. They got to get after him.
Yeah, and again, you see just kind of doesn't feel the pressure coming from behind him. So take us through this next clip with Minshew again and what we see here.
You're going to get an interception here from Cisco from Jaguars, who does a really, really nice job. But again, you can see the window's really, really not there. He doesn't have an open guy. He'll try to squeeze things in there. Again, he comes out of that Mike Leach, kind of air raid where it's just constant balls in the air. He'll take chances with it. Again, the Browns have to create great pressure up front, and they have to make some plays in the secondary. They got to start getting some turnovers in the back half. And as I said, there's not a lot of complaints about the defense. They've played at a super high level, but if you had one complaint, it's that they haven't gotten a lot of turnovers. So they got to start turning their teams over to give their offense even a better chance to be successful, because until Watson gets going, until they get, even if he comes back, he's going to be, again, rusty. They got to create some short fields for that offense so they can run the ball a little bit and make some plays, and it's not all on them. So the defense has got to carry this team. and create some turnovers. And Minshew will give the ball to them if they're patient.
So we mentioned Anthony Richardson, the quarterback, is out, but their really good running back, Jonathan Taylor, back in. Take us through this clip, and I'm guessing you're going to see a lot of Jonathan Taylor.
Well, two guys. They got Moss and they got Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor's coming back, so I think his workload will increase. Both guys are very, very good in the run game and the pass game. So, obviously, he's just getting back into it. This is an empty combination where he's in the slot, so he's actually outside. He runs motion. Again, both these guys are really talented in both the run game, the pass game. They can pass protect if needed. Really like the Moss guy. I think they have a really good two-headed. They have good receivers. They have a bunch of quality people who can make big plays. They just haven't been very consistent. Taylor's back, got his contract signed. Him and Moss make a really good backfield. Browns got to find these guys and make tackles and get it to third down. So again, they can pressure Minshew and get him in making mistakes.
So you mentioned the 1A, if you will, Zach Moss. Take us through this next clip, what you see, what you like with Moss in this one.
Well, so he had 100-plus yards. He had 150-plus yards against the Ravens. This is the Ravens. He had a really, really good game, 30 rushes against the Ravens, which tells you how tough he is because the Ravens are good. Really good jump cuts, really good at bouncing outside, sees the hole. He's got great vision, great balance. He's got great balance after contact. Another big, thick kid. He's got big legs. He breaks a lot of tackles, and he's had 100-plus yard games rushing against the Ravens here, and then last week as well. So he's a guy who's got a ton of talent, and now he's 1 in 1A. Like I said, I don't think there's much of a drop-off between him and Jonathan Taylor now. So they got, again, him, Taylor, they got Pierce, they got Pittman. They got a lot of good guys, and the Browns have to be ready. Browns have to be ready, and the big thing is them, not the Colts, it's them.
And you see Moss there, as they did beat the Ravens in that game as well. So you've mentioned
Minshew, yep.
Exactly.
With Minshew, yep.
Now you mentioned some of the wide receiver targets. This is a guy that the Browns are going to have to be aware of, and that's Michael Pittman.
Well, Pittman's a big guy, so he's in the 6'4", 220, 225, even 230 range. So he can run all the routes. They can put him in the slot down in the red zone. He can run all the outside. He's a true number one receiver, meaning for me that means on the outside he's running the comebacks, the posts, the goes. Big, long guy. I think he's a great matchup for Martin Emerson. I think Denzel Ward could be really, really good against him as well. But Denzel Ward might have to go a little bit against Downs. Josh Downs is a guy I loved out of North Carolina. He's got some suddenness and some twitchiness, but he's smaller. This is a big target. This is kind of, the Browns defense is made for the Cincinnati Bengal types. And this Colts offense has three receivers that kind of fit that mold in terms of they have different skill sets. This is a big guy. I see Martin Emerson being a very good matchup against him, especially down in the red zone with his bigness, his length, and his physicality.
So that's a look at what the offense gives the Colts. Let's flip sides of the ball. Not sure. Deshaun Watson back on the practice field, practicing yesterday, so we'll see if he's able to go. But when you think about the Colts, there are a couple of guys up front that the Browns have to deal with. Take us through this and what you see here.
Well, a big guy for me is DeForest Buckner. He's a pro. He's been around a while. He's very, very good. He's a monster. He's 6'6", 6'7", right around 300 pounds. He's got great extension. He's got really, really long arms. He's a really good pass rusher. He's good against the run. They have a bunch of guys inside that are pretty solid. They have Taven Bryan, who I thought would have been a good fit in the new scheme here with the Browns. He loves to get upfield, so Taven Bryan is playing very well for them. But DeForest Buckner is a pro. They will put him in matchups. It should be a very, very good matchup with him inside with Taylor and Bitonio. Bitonio coming off injury. No one feels bad for anybody in the NFL, so they're going to go at Bitonio and see if he's okay. And DeForest Buckner's the guy. So on that defensive front, there's a bunch of guys. But this is the guy they have to block. They got to find Buckner and make sure he gets blocked.
Yeah, and we looked earlier in the week with you at what the Browns' run game did, and now they're going to get another challenge. It's not only Buckner though. There's another guy inside that's a handful. Take us through this clip.
So you're gonna see number 44. He makes a big hit. So as it starts back over, you're gonna see him at the middle linebacker, and he's gonna run over top, and he's gonna make a big hit here in the hole. And this Zaire Franklin is one of my favorite film breakdowns I've done in the last couple of years. This guy leads the league in tackling. He's got 77 tackles this year already through 6 games. He's an outright tackling machine. He gets to the ball and he gets to the ball angry. Really liked him between the tackles. He covers well in space. Big guy, big thick guy. He takes on blockers very well. He uses his hands very well. He can cover multiple tight ends. He can cover backside of the backfield. His physicality is fantastic. This is the guy that the Browns have to get to in the second level, or he'll make every tackle. He's that good. Like I said, one of the better films I've broken down defensively in the last couple of years. Sideline to sideline guy, really, really good football player.
So you've looked at what the Colts like to do. What are some of the areas that you think the Browns can exploit, or who are some guys that the Browns can utilize against what the Colts do well?
You know, I think Amari Cooper's a big mismatch for them. I think they got to figure out a way to get these guys they signed, get them rolling. So the Browns, you know, they signed Moore, who I thought was a great pickup. They signed Akins, who I thought was a great pickup. Goodwin, who brought speed. You saw Goodwin last week on the reverse. So I think more than just a person they can attack, they have to get all their weapons going. So if they can get all their weapons going, you know, get some slot routes for Moore, use Goodwin on some vertical routes, get Cooper going in the you know, inside and outside, get the run game going a little bit. I think Ford's been pretty impressive. I think Hunt got his legs back a little bit last week. Kind of protect Walker if he has to start. But the guys they signed, they have to figure out a way to get all of them going, along with Njoku and the guys they already know. But those three guys they signed have to help. And I think that's what the Browns are kind of pushing towards, is they got to get those guys going, and then the offense will kind of figure itself out.
Lance Reisland, as always, great stuff. Appreciate the time and the insight. Thanks very much, Lance.
As always, thanks for having me.
Lance Reisland with the scouting report for the Indianapolis Colts. Browns taking on the Colts in Indy Sunday at 1. We're going to step aside, take a quick timeout. We will continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Stay with us. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education program recognizes role model students and teachers from across Ohio. Nominations can now be done completely online. To nominate a deserving teacher or student, go to ohiolottery.com. In the About section, find Partners in Education. There you will find links to the nomination forms. Students kindergarten through 12th grade can be academic all-stars. Teachers can be honored as a Teacher of the Month. The Ohio Lottery Partners in Education, where stars shine. We continue talking Browns on Sports4CLE. Browns cornerback Greg Newsome was on the Richard Sherman podcast talking about what Jim Schwartz said appealed to him about coming to the Browns as a defensive coordinator.
Man, he's brought swagger, like you said. When he came here, he told us, he was like, man, honestly, I got more than enough money. I could sit back on the couch. But, you know, what really brought me to the Cleveland Browns was those cornerbacks. Said the ability that you guys have to play man-to-man is definitely going to set us up. You know, and you know how it is, man. You can have a great D-line, but if your corners can't cover, they're not going to be able to get home, or vice versa for the D-line too. So I think we complement each other. And I just think from last year, it's just allowing us to go out there and play our brand of football, and that's man-to-man coverage.
So the next two clips will kind of illustrate what Newsome means by the secondary playing man-to-man coverage and the defensive line getting to the quarterback, how they work together. Again, this is Dan Orlovsky from ESPN NFL Live showing exactly what that man-to-man coverage and defensive line mean to each other.
They go to that cheetah quick snap, and this is what's going to happen. RC, talk to me about these number one wide receivers, both at the bottom of the screen and, again, Ayuk at the top.
So if you watch the San Francisco 49ers play football, they want to get in these condensed splits that get you an outside leverage by using those inside releases, being able to push off of you and lean to give Brock Purdy those seams. If you watch the Cleveland Browns, though, so many people try to fight to get in there, and then they're allowed to adjust. They didn't do that. Both Emerson and Ward here, they stay outside, they play to their leverage, knowing there's a middle of the field safety and also a robber in Juan Thornhill. When you have those sorts of players in there with a guy like Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan that want to use those inside releases and those leverages, you have to stay tight to the upfield shoulder. Cleveland Browns did this perfectly the entire day.
Again, there's the leverage that everyone's playing outside, and that's that drop-down safety that RC was talking about. That guy's job is to, once again, have vision on the ball. Who's an in-breaker? Where does he want to throw it to? That's that help defender. Those guys want to allow us as an offense to win to the middle of the field, never allow us outside, and then there's nowhere to throw the football to. That is playing elite man-to-man defense, but in the proper leverage of that outside shade. Now, Myles Garrett is going to do a speed rush. For us, that's going to force the quarterback, if he is going to get out over the top, quarterback naturally is going to have to climb the pocket. This is very strategic by the Cleveland Browns. They know they're going to play with that tight man coverage and that great leverage. Here's the thing. When Myles Garrett rushes on the outside and it forces Brock Purdy to climb, the Browns know that. They're going to take Zadarius Smith and run him this way. Everything now becomes about 54. They're going to say, okay, Brock Purdy, we know you have to climb the pocket. Zadarius, run through that guard. They're actually just going to slow play this, and they're going to force Brock Purdy to climb into the pocket right to that unblocked defender. That is absolutely spectacular when it comes to playing that man coverage, playing it with the desired and proper leverage to your help, and then tying it using Myles Garrett in many ways to force that rush and use it to either get the ball to the quarterback's hands quickly or to get to that unblocked extra rusher with that pick game.
And again, a really good illustration of exactly how the Browns secondary and the defensive line and the linebackers, all three levels obviously are playing at an elite level for the Browns to this point in the season, and there's no reason to doubt that will continue. Browns getting ready to head to Indianapolis, a road game against the Colts. Colts offensive coordinator Jim Bob Cooter, yep, that's his name. His thoughts on the Browns defense.
Whatever I'm seeing on tape, I'm seeing good defensive football being played. These guys fly around. They play full speed, high effort group, really run into the ball, really run into the action. No hesitating has been found on tape. They play real fast. They play real hard. They make it tough on offenses, right? We got a challenge in front of us this week. But that's what we enjoy about the NFL, right? Having a challenge and trying to rise up to the occasion. So, yeah, I mean, you can't find a lot of numbers you can criticize on this defense, so I won't be the one to put it out there. These guys are playing great ball. We're excited to compete against them, and this time of the week, trying to put together a good plan. Put together a good plan, give us a chance to win this game, and see if we can't have a chance to compete. Cleveland's playing excellent defense. I don't have to pump them up any more than you can already read about out there. They're playing great football. They're making it really tough on offenses to move the ball, score points. They're going to make you really earn every yard, earn every first down, earn every third down conversion, all those good things. To hand the ball to a good player and have him make a few extra yards maybe after that first contact is important. It is important. In this league, we're looking for every single edge, and we're drawing up all these cool plays, but sometimes all these cool plays, you just let Zach Moss make the guy miss, right? Or Jonathan Taylor or any of our guys, right? Those are good football plays too. And Zach's been doing a heck of a job out there. We'll continue to watch him run.
Zach Moss and Jonathan Taylor, the running backs for the Colts. Remember, Taylor missed the first 4 weeks. He has been back, and they're kind of ramping him up. You would expect a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor and some Zach Moss as well. Sunday, 1 o'clock in Indianapolis. The Browns will be facing the Colts. All right, before we go, DJ Hazmat, you know him from his weekend shows on 93.1 WZAK. He is a huge Browns fan. Weeknights, you can also catch him Dish Nation. Figured it's a perfect way to wrap up the week. DJ Hazmat with this look back with the Browns' win over the 49ers.
Hey, Hez.
First of all, you damn right we beat the 49ers.
What about the bad calls and that missed field goal?
Whiners thought you would bang, bang, Niner gang. Now you're wearing blinders. Here's a recap for your memory lapse, a subtle reminder. You started with that scuffle from Trent Williams and Debo. You were undefeated coming to Cleveland, feeling your ego. Once we showed you Debo and Christian ain't superheroes, Schwartz had Shanahan shook. Ask Kyle, he knows he just can't beat yo. Out of the 32, Schwartz the X Factor. Been the problem 8 times before. I had to laugh at the excuses I heard him saying. No McCaffrey or Samuels for Purdy, and it was raining.
The referees were horrible.
Yeah, for both sides, deplorable. But y'all wasn't scoring though, cause our defense is historical. Had Brock looking Purdy irrelevant with historic lows. Schwartz is Shanahan's impediment as the story goes. Sacks for Taki, Awusa Ramon. Kittle wasn't open for business either, that store was closed. Anybody wanted can get this ether, it's not a myth. I'm key to these recaps, can't get it with a lock. They got upset. That Vegas 10-point spread was disrespect. So our defense had to put their O in check. 19-17 was the flex. No surprise here, cause that's what we expect. Got the best defense in the league, man, they cold. 49ers came, their record was 5-0. Gave them their first loss of the season, now they know. You better respect the Browns when you see them, here we go. First they acted hard, now they crying about 3 plays. Game was close cause we rolling with practice squad PJ. And Purdy wasn't sturdy, he was Brock bottom booty. When they kicker missed, I bet Jake's whole family was moody. Referees hit us with a bunch of penalties. Plus, a Niner grabbed a face mask and they tried to pin it on us. PJ threw 2 interceptions, had a TD call back. And they still couldn't win, cause the Niners ain't all that. And Hopkins scored, had the dog pound repping and barking. Emerson picked Purdy like, get the stepping, he Martin. A lot of football rapping now, it's insane. But I'm the true Lion King of these recaps. Simba, stay in your lane. Niner gang and E40, don't be acting away. We told you when to go, so take this L back to the bank. They got upset. That Vegas 10-point spread was disrespect. So our defense had to put their O in check. 19-17 was the flex.
On them.
No surprise here, cause that's what we expect. Got the best defense in the league, man, they cold. 49ers came, their record was 5-0. Gave them their first loss of the season, now they know. You better respect the Browns when you see them, here we go.
Again, DJ Hazmat, you can listen to him 93.1 WZAK on the weekends. Subscribe to his YouTube channel, Hey Haz TV. Does recaps for all of the Browns games. You can see those first. Again, it's Hey Haz TV on YouTube. That's going to do it for this edition of Sports for CLE. We will see you back here Monday at 4 o'clock. Remember, Browns-Colts, 1 o'clock on Sunday. We'll be wrapping it up Monday at 4. Have a great weekend, everybody. See you Monday at 4 on Sports for CLE.